omo ye amanyosem a omo ntumi mfa alternatives emba no say ye kan omo ekotena baabi ense say ye mo omo kra get close to friend say akonwa no esane say amanyosem no eye say wo kire wadwene na me so ma kire madwene afa ensem anase ga empuntuo no ho say me mefa saa kwan we so anase mefa saa kwan we so e de ama Ghana eye etumpon na mbom say wo ba na say wo de obi se obeye bibi na wo de a ne say da bi ontumi ye ne okan no ontumi ye. That is not the way forward. Ade na wo so wo ba be ye me se mefa ekwan so na wo so wa kire me ekwan a wo be fa so a wo so de be solve your problem. That's what leadership is all about. Enti eya na esese ye ma Ghana for ehu leaders no omo se ye nto omo so aba no ese ye ma omo hu nsem omo ka atwam ene nsem a omo ne nam omo ka ene omo track record se be ya ye kwakoto aba ma mpanimfo a ye betumi anya nyinaso papa ede ato aba esa ne se ne ade bia meka no me se mfumso a obeye no eye sima beye sima se no ade a ebetwe waso mfie 9 if you get it wrong say when nya no papa enti odofo sa asemo ade bia meka say politics is a serious business no ade a say ye hwe ne yie pa esa ne say no kra papa ye besan ede eye aban nyuma kro anase nyuma oye wo eye wo man Ghana mu even in the midst of the hardship global hardship no Ghana mpuntu ho sebeta frache eye ya sofo no se omanfo no ebe ye omonyema afa enti se ekoba se nyema bi koso wo man no mu a odofo ehu behia se eye ya sofo no ombetumi aka na se omo kan ese se omo kan no kwan a sebe abrantie a ye frɛ no Dr. Ishmael Hlovo efa nkomo na me ni edi efa eye Niger ntokwa no ho yensa aka opani a ye frɛ no Dr. Ishmael Hlovo onde mse brofo no sebe wa mene ede ato ne yam nti no brofo no obeka na numri eti afefo ene de ye be poto kasa ne kakra ede amamu na Doctor, good evening and welcome to the Seat Show.
The coup d'etat that we are experiencing throughout the sub-region in West Africa. You will recall that within the last 3 years, about 5 or so countries have gone the way of military rule. Burkina Faso, we have Mali, we have Guinea, and of course, Niger has joined that group. And this is becoming a worrying trend because we have also had to try to institutionalize democracy as a way of living within this sub-region. Over the last 3 years, it seems that there have been this increase in the number of coup d'etats that we are experiencing. And in Niger particularly, what we have seen is that there seems to be the military leaders seems to have their own plan, and Ecowas seems to be operating on a different level. So we are seeing a kind of standoff where Ecowas insists they should hand over power and return to the barracks.
Doc, so I'm sure, as we all know, Niger is a member of the Ecowas, that is the Economic Community of West African States, and therefore has ratified certain protocols within the Ecowas body. I'm sure this is the reason.
Of course, once you're an Ecowas member, you are assigned to the station of various backsliding and undemocratic practices that we have instituted. We didn't have removed what we call the term limit. In Ghana, for instance, we know that our president, akufo-addo, probably will not be content. He insists that they should reinforce that of undermining democracy that you are not looking at. Once they win election, the problem with West Africa is that once somebody wins, people must see that even if they are in difficulty, there are efforts being undertaken to resolve their problem. They must see that the government is working for them. So we have a situation where our leaders interpret electoral mandate to mean the license to do whatever. So in some situations, when it was clear that the citizens are not interested in a particular policy, that the citizens are thinking that the direction of the country is not what it is, the leaders virtually insist that because they are democratically elected, they could do whatever they want to do. And if you adopt that posture in a region where there's so much youth unemployment, in a region where terrorist groups are virtually rampaging across the process of building the structures, but most of these people are not paying attention, and some of them are virtually undermining the institutions. The other person could use that same judiciary to undermine you. So all the structures that should support them, they are not paying attention to the structures. So for instance, in Ghana, I know that when it comes to the West, I could go to court. Yes, people may have their own views. Now, in other jurisdictions, the courts have been so manipulated that
all member states have this particular early warning, whatever, that has been implemented by all the Ecowas countries before they even occurred.
You see, some of these early warning systems are just to help us identify potential sources of conflict. Now, in this case, a coup d'etat. And mind you, the people who will provide the evidence to facilitate the system are part of the coup. Virtually are depending on the intelligence services to gather intelligence as to what is going on. And these are the people who are virtually organizing, and the US fighting for Soviet Union and the US fighting for global supremacy. When around 1990, coming towards the millennium, when the Soviet Union disintegrated, you have a situation where the US was virtually unchallenged. So in that situation, what happened is that the Western world became the defenders of democracy. So they push all of us towards democracy. So when you organize a coup, you will not necessarily get allies to support you. Now, but the international setting has changed in the sense that now you have other emerging centers of power, Russia, China, and these are contenders against the US hegemony. So now when you organize a coup, you are likely to get support from Russia particularly, or the Chinese. So the atmosphere for coup d'etats has changed. Unlike maybe in the early 2000s, where when you organize coup, you may not find that level of, or in the 1990s, getting support, somebody to support you is very difficult because the makers, so they don't want to determine which type of government you have. So either coup or no coup, they will transact business. Now, if you watch the coups that are happening in West Africa, almost all of them happen to be former French colonies. And one of the things that has happened is that France is losing its influence within the sub-region. And because of the nature of France's involvement in these countries after independence, many of these people are becoming resentful about French influence. If you take Niger, for instance, Niger has resources that are virtually used in France, but the Nigerians themselves are very poor. So you have a situation where they have the mineral resources that they think can help them develop, but most of these mineral resources are being exploited by French companies, and then they found out that, well, we could not even benefit from our own resources. Then you have a situation where, but virtually, because of the CFA franc, most of their foreign reserves are held by the French central bank. So this level of manipulation is becoming resentful to people. Because when people are in economic difficulty, when they are in difficulty, they look for where the source is, and normally foreign targets become the source. So they want to maintain it. As a result of that, it's forcing these military guys to use it as a pretext to organize coup d'etats and then invite Russia as a counterweight to French influence. So if you look at Niger, for instance, after the coup, there were demonstrations. Most of the demonstrators better is a counterweight to French influence. As we speak, about 1,500 troops were supposed to be on Nigerian soil. Those troops were moved from Mali when the Malian military leaders asked them to disengage, to leave their nation, and they moved them to Niger. Over 1,000 troops in that country. And if they should call it a coup, then it means that by their own rules of operation, they cannot engage the regime. But Niger is so important to them. One, because of counter-terrorism, and because of certain minerals. So yes, foreign interference is part of the situation we are facing. And most of these foreign powers are looking for allies. So supporting an ally that comes to power through the barrel of the gun is now a welcome news. We will find the evidence that the coups actually planned and organized by these foreign powers.
Yeah.
Because we are in the era of geopolitical competition, where Africa is virtually becoming a stage. That is why some of us are calling on Ecowas to isolate Western powers from the solution they want to implement. Because if Western powers are seen as backing you, Western powers, because if you do that, then you attract the counterpower. So we are in a sort of geopolitical tension. It has muddled the waters for us. And as some of us are seeing, we may have more coups if we don't deal with the underlying causes of the coups.
So, Doc, in this particular matter or this particular case, would you say that the ECOWAS has relied heavily on the Western support? It's
chanting its own part, but rhetoric from particularly France, seems to project as if ECOWAS is in the same, is virtually doing their bidding. So, for instance, when the French official make a comment like that, presupposes that ECOWAS is sharing intelligence with you. So we are virtually saying that yes, ECOWAS need to appear as being independent, and some of these, the position ECOWAS has taken will be the position most Western governments will take. Than zero tolerance for coup, return the ousted President Bazoum to power. It's international relations where actors will always have interests aligning. But if in the group to do what they are doing, then we have a problem.
Okay. Diplomacy in all this.
You see, the problem with ECOWAS approach is that from the word go, they openly declared the military option without, I don't think they necessarily thought about it very well. So they didn't give much time for diplomacy because they wanted to send a signal out there that no coup will be tolerated.
Okay.
Therefore, they weren't ready to listen to them. But then, hopefully, we are seeing signs that some clerics in Nigeria were able to have access to the regime, and the regime is ready to talk to ECOWAS. That is a diplomatic channel that is now open to ECOWAS to engage. It didn't even last for an hour. They were asked to leave because the people are not ready to. As one of the generals say, when the clerics met them, their problem with ECOWAS is that when the thing happened, you've taken an entrenched position. You didn't listen to our concerns. As I said, once a coup happened, you can't just assume that the person who organized the coup should go back to the barracks. It will be difficult. There are reasons why the organizers go, once there's a coup, we have to engage and see the terms on which they are willing to return to the barracks. Then, on intervention, of course, I understand that the threat of intervention is itself diplomacy, because war is the last end of diplomacy, when all end up in war. So that should be the last option. So ECOWAS didn't actually explore the diplomatic options very well. They want to appear big, and I think that the Nigerian president appears to put a picture out there that he's in charge, and that posturing actually contaminated the water. His posturing is quite different from when we had a situation in Togo where protesters were all over the place demanding, where you have President Akufo-Addo entering and then trying to reach some kind of agreement with both parties. Now, his posturing is quite different in the sense that if we don't hand over power, we intervene militarily. And that kind of posturing contaminated the waters. But hopefully, as we said, there are now a group of Islamic clerics in Nigeria since to buy. When you impose economic sanctions, they don't work overnight. It takes time for it to have the needed effect. But what the coup makers have done, actually, is to use the ECOWAS posturing as an instrument to bolster their power. So if they can communicate to the population that these foreigners are against you, then they're able to mobilize them against seeing ECOWAS as the enemy. So it gives them that leverage to be able to gather support, because they are able to communicate ECOWAS threat as a threat to the people of Niger and the people who rally around them. So I think that ECOWAS at this point have a very good diplomatic channel where they are ready to negotiate. Saying that they should return to the barracks should be sealed. because it won't happen. What they are virtually doing is to hold the former president even as a hostage to negotiate. So today they say they are going to put him serious offense. So we now have the channel. The channel is that those Islamic clerics are able to have access, and they indicated that yes, they are ready to talk. So we now have to build on that and see how it goes. I would advise that Ecowas should not attempt to force them to go to the barrack. The best you can get out of this situation is to have a timetable for return to civilian rule. And from where I'm standing, I don't see the former president coming back to power. So you may not like it, you may want him to come back to power, but the point is that he's being seen as a Western stooge, and therefore there's nothing you will do that will allow him to come back. So let them rather go into a diplomatic solution that they will have a timetable for return to civilian rule. And that timetable can be used, the Ecowas sanctions can be used to ensure that there's to meet. And as they meet the targets, then you lift some of the sanctions. So every target they meet on the way result in lifting of a particular sanction to the point where the country returns to civilian rule, and then you lift all the sanctions that you impose. That may be the only way out diplomatically.
So, Doc, if I am a military, I'm a soldier, I'm a military man, and I know that when I stage a coup and I'm successful, ECOWAS has that diplomatic option to in coup, or
the point is that but in Niger is already at the front line of terrorist groups. Either you are able to do a very neat operation, capture the generals, you enter there and enter a very bloody war. The military option has consequences that this region is not ready to deal with. Burkina Faso. Yeah. So the northern regions are virtually struggling to contain the refugee inflow. Any attempt to intervene militarily in Niger will create room for terrorists and other groups to operate. It may not be as smooth as we are envisaging, because, mind you, the end of war can never be predicted from the beginning. If you take Russia, for instance, they assume they are military and they look at Ukraine and they thought that we will go in there within few days and we will outcome of any military situation. And mind you, even as we are speaking, it's not like ECOWAS has a standby force somewhere that they are going to deploy. It will take time. It will take some weeks. To do a proper plan, it may take like 6 or so months, where the various countries have to determine how much they will contribute. Yeah. How many troops they will contribute. So you see that the Nigerian president went to Senate to give him an approval to deploy troops, and they told him go and explore the military option, because if you look at Niger itself was an extension of Nigeria until the partition of Africa. So there are so much ethnic and cross-border ethnic relation among that group. So the question is, are we going to be fighting our brothers? Okay. If we intervene militarily, they may decide to arm civilians, and those civilians are charged. So it may be bloody. Okay. Now, but does it give the incentive to make coups? Are people in Ghana likely to accept coup? You see, over time, there is quite a large number of Ghanaians who believe that, well, even this democracy is still better than military rule. And if that's why the Ecowas government have the data. If you look at Afrobarometer surveys, if you go the various rounds, and they have seen the declining over the years. Although in respect to Ghana, people still believe that democracy is the way to go. So when you have a country like this with that attitude, and you know, some countries is quite difficult, because, for instance, in Ghana, anybody who is not satisfied with President akufo-addo is probably waiting for 2024. So you see somebody, so we will see in 2024. Yeah. That is a mentality that project that the people are virtually looking at the election, know that even if I vote, it will not count. Then the coup d'etats will come. So it's not only an incentive to the soldier. There should be conditions that allow the soldier to justify the coup. So, for example, look at the Nice president for treason. All these are just effort to just president was working against the interests of the state. And so, for you to even have a coup, you need to look at the climate. What makes coups possible is not this negotiation with coup makers, what are making coups possible is the climate, the economic situation. Most of our nations are struggling to deliver on basic needs. And hungry people will always rise to somebody who seems to speak their language. So the earlier we get the economic situation resolved, the better. And to Ecowas itself, if you're able to mobilize military force to intervene and restore democracy in Niger, why are you not able to mobilize the same military force to go and protect some aristocrats elected presidents when their rule is threatened? Because if we could mobilize all the military we are mobilizing to go in there and enforce democracy, why are we not able to mobilize the same group and deal with the terrorist manners? Why are we relying on foreigners?
Exactly.
So this question is, so you must assume the country is so well governed, people express their views freely, means they can change their government. People will wait for the election time. People will not be tempted to make coups, because when you make coup, you may not get the support.
Okay, Doc, so what would you say will be the direct impact of this coup in Niger on Ghana? I mean, if I say impact, I mean the security and economic wise.
Economically, we trade with Niger, and I think onion is one of the major commodities that we trade with them. As we block them from selling, that means that we may well start seeing some hikes in onion price. There are also Ghanaians who have become resident in Niger, and I guess because they will be seen as foreigners who are against the interests of Niger, particularly if there will be a military intervention. So that's the economic. But in addition to that, as people become uncertain about the future of Niger, as they are not so sure either there will be a military intervention, they may decide to leave. And you know, we have a very large Niger community here. Some of them will find their way here.
Yeah.
And that will add to our.
Yeah.
That is why for some of us, even Ghana contributed to, we are looking at it that, well, we are in an economic mess, and wars are expensive. So if they will intervene militarily, it will take a toll on the economies of the various members, the real bombs, and they are expensive. So war is not cheap. It's quite expensive. So if there should be any conflict I'm also expecting terrorist group to get down. And as they get down, it means that another member has fallen, and therefore the concentration of these terrorist groups will not focus on other members that they are targeting. And Ghana's security situation will, being a member of this sub-region, means that we have to now commit more to security.
Right.
Because as it is now, our northern border is virtually on a high alert because of the burden that we are trying to address. And Ghana also has to contribute more to restoring peace in that nation. We can't sit and say that is their problem. That is the problem we created from the beginning, where we assume that the terrorist problem is for the Sahel nations. So those of us along the coast were looking on until we realized that no, the terrorists are coming down south. So
directly touched on this. For the benefit of my viewers, what would you say, how do we solve this how do we address this whole coup thing? Because some of us thought that some few years back, we thought coups were things of the past, only for us to be to face another one.
Yes, one. I think Ecowas have to be looking at, the various countries in Ecowas have to be looking at strengthening their democratic institution. Presidents must stop undermining the institutions that are expected to protect them. So, for instance, situations where somebody comes to power and the vital institution realize that this person there will not speak my language, therefore remove him. Now, when you remove him and put somebody there, you damage the image of that institution. So that instead of people trusting that, for instance, if I go to the judiciary, I'll get justice, they no longer trust the system. And once people begin to distrust institutions, democracy is in danger. Two, West Africa, you have a lot of young people, graduates, who could not find anything to do. So the government can also put effort in trying to address the economic situation. You know, when people look for explanations for their situations, once they have job and they are happy then it means that the system is working for them. The reason why the system is not delivering on that. And in the midst of that, we must address the issue of corruption seriously. Because if some young people are unable to find jobs, young people are unable to make it to have 3 square meals a day, and then there are public officials who are living in a parallel world, far from the problem they are elected to face. So you have people driving on very pothole roads and so forth and so on, and they are virtually living far from the problem.
Yeah.
So if we address the economic situation, which hopefully we may be able to overturn, then we deny the chance for coup, because a coup maker will justify by a worsening economic situation. And in West Africa, we also have to put effort at addressing the security situation. We must ensure that various governments respect democratic institutions. We must also ensure that the economies that they are running produce results. The economic situation must change, because young people who cannot find jobs will become frustrated. And once people are frustrated, aggression is the next thing.
Yeah.
So these are issues that have to be addressed. In the particular case of Niger, the best they will get is to negotiate with the regime for a return to civilian rule, not necessarily bringing back the former president.
Doc, thank you very much. But before I allow you to go, I'm reliably informed that a lot of the youth are listening to us. Would you say, tell them something? Is coup the best way out?
From where I stand, coups will not solve our problem. Coups will worsen our problem. If you look at Burkina Faso, one of the reasons they organized the coup was to say that there's worsening security situation. But the last 6 months have indicated that the security situation has not improved.
Okay.
So in actual fact, the coup has not addressed the problem.
Okay.
Indeed, most coup makers have their own ambitions and only use the situation to justify it.
Exactly.
Instead of organizing coup, I would rather prefer our youth demonstrate every week. That's a better alternative to register your displeasure. You wait until election and you may express your fear, because coups will set us back. There's one thing electing somebody who is not doing what you want. In this case, in a democracy, you have the rule is that somebody comes on his own and imposes his will. Therefore, no matter how bad the democracy has become, there's always the chance that we could reform it. So I would say that coups are not a better alternative to democracy. Let us keep faith in the democracy, as we have always done. And Ghana, we have demonstrated the record that, well, if we feel that you are not doing so well, we will change you.
Okay.
So there is no need for anybody to attempt a coup, particularly in Ghana. The youth should realize that the coup maker will come to power and may not address your needs. We have had successful coups in this country. They have not helped us get this far. It is in the last 30 years that we have made a number of progress. We at least, you may say that it's not the best, but we are still a little better.
Okay.
The military rule, they will not give you the program. We are having the NDC talking about running 24-hour economy. It's because of democracy that they are bringing that idea. So you observe that over time there have been little progress. It will become a bigger progress.
Thank you.
We must take time and nurture our democratic institution.
Okay.
We shouldn't go back to the dark days of coup. If you look at it, we are having the thing we should be concerned with to ensure that they do exactly what they want to do when it will be an alternative for us.
Doc, thank you very much. Quick one. Honorable Kennedy Agyapong is touting what he calls the NIA, the Northern Industrialization Agenda. You think that this is one of the ways that governments can use to create jobs for the teeming youth?
Honorable Kid surprised that idea will come from him, because he will be thinking of how to create such situations to allow the youth to become entrepreneurs themselves.
Okay.
So yes, once he gets to power, it depends on how he implements it. if you get the northern sector industrialized, what you may also be doing is to stop the conflict in the north.
Okay.
Part of the reason for those conflicts is poverty. So if there's so much, if you're able to implement it effectively, get industry running in the north, you even drive the concentration of population in the south back to the north. And we will see that some of the conflicts we have been having will soon disappear because people are busy with work and they will not have time to carry guns and ammunition. So yes, Kennedy Agyapong, for who he is, this should be natural to him because he is an entrepreneur. He will always think of how to get people to create jobs.
Alhamdulillah. I think that we are very grateful to you. Anytime we call you, you gladly respond. We'll come back to you again. God bless you so much.
Bless you too. Bye-bye.
Yo, Honorable Dr. Ishmael Hlovo, political scientist, Ochecheni University of Education, Winneba, yes, Winneba. And ode Niger and Chechemu ede abran ni tietwa ne se coup no ubofu aban said den kra na coup is not the best way out because ohwe Mali ni Burkina for there ade a omu gina so omu de ye coup no sa ade no emfiri ho nanso asema kabi mami kabi etumi edi hini ewo amama mu no ye be ade ye be hyemu kina na no na ebeboa ama coup no ehun enkoye akono se obi kura be pese ode nani ebedi achi Dr. Ishmael Hlovo na ye ne atwetwe nkobo mame enji hwi ansa na obeka sa anso bisa no adasa anso na obekọ no bisa ne se honorable Kennedy Agyapong ne ni so ade hu a the northern industrialization agenda na o se tifi do mantem ode ebema ejuma factories akese akọ no o se eyade a ebeboa papa ama emobunu no anya ejuma ye na omanipo enkodi saa kuku yi achi na onde onim se onomnyamfo Kennedy Ohene Agyapong se ne ote no ono ankasa wa create employment no se obedi omampani a eyade obetumi aye no dodo eno ti mo be hye ne nso menji aboafo nkrato sima na memra. Adeshima misama wakwaba ediba the seat show so on the 2 television musumfo ohene amwakwa dodo na frame the flag bearer ana midi jumedi ehu chi agenda no in fact sa same way eyade a esese Ghana fo nyina embrace isane se eyade a beboa yen mekra madwene enko so ye ne doctor ekasa no isane se ede adwuma beba ama womo a omo wo ho no omo tumi de bia no omo ya busy se omo ye adwuma uni bre se okwa entokwa ena se ne omuaye enti ma obi entrance nka se no nyaade a ebetumi aye saa mintumi ye honhom na se yentumi ye honhom no yen free ye munye saa yentumi entu mpon eda eruti mo amontumi anhwe eye last Wednesday saa video no ye northern industrialization agenda no me pese me yi all kan ase yenkwohwe ne emra.
have to create job opportunities. You have voted for politicians, they speak English, and your pocket is empty. I want to change the status quo where Northerners always go to the south to look for jobs. With this land, I will make sure the Southerners come to the north to look for jobs. As late as 7, the farmers were still working with archaic input holes. We need to change that so that we can have large-scale farms with big industries. First industry you are going to have in Tumu or President Hillary Liman's you need 20,000 share butter, and we don't do anything about it. When I was talking to Mr. Yantechi, he said, oh, sometimes they have to push the trees for the fruits to drop or fall, and they pick one by one. Right there, I told him, every tree
I can say, oh, because of idea where my year etramuntino, se minya tumina, me to me a year edia druha. I don't think say a buphobia and asem from Sobia ewoso. Ba form 1 no. Uye nyeme bi utumi church release bia etumi ma influence a year academic board e mo take some decision bia e de benefit every student. Enunti wadru level 300 na okope SRC edi no. Ubetumi agina so aka say oh me one level 100 kra na me ye fresh student. Me nya position bia metumi ye A Emma at the B by enti muma me sa president me so me advice and be ma candidates ni nyina say obia believers ministry nipa bebre ho no na ya na they have issues with the one man churches but Reverend DY Donko video a menyaye ewo efre no social media so no emse ensempa bi ewo saa ensemo a papa no Reverend DY Donko edit to ne
proud you are that you are Ghanaian, but some of us we are proud Ghanaian. That look nyaminya nsem wo bobo wiase no bobo dipa wenya baabi amfa DY Donko anto say Ghana. It tells me that I have a responsibility towards Ghana. Michael Jackson, but we decided say was Sunday color, as the Sunday when as the Sunday nini nano, actually trying to turn in the night, but still or you're black. What identifies the true nature of a person is not his color, it is by his blood. And there are 3 problems of this nation. Number 1, lack of discipline, indiscipline. Number 2, greed. Number 3, lack of accountability. Today we are taking indiscipline. In Ghana, it looks as if you know about there were no monsieur to rob actually. Ghana will not change because we can pray. But here the Ghana, I'm a Muslim for you now. Yes, you're free now. What be uncle, sorry, Allah Akbar may say Ghana will not change because of religion. Ghana will change because of discipline. Why? Because attitude is dangerous than disability. Obiti what mean my sort no asha no atopia water nesa South Africa beach oda we ye Ghana beach yama $1 billion you will still need anointing oil and can afford it be you can't afford it be ya you think crying obi a omom titi beach na omom titi what to be swap ball ahomachi no akweja to beach na no hey what kind of country is this na bi busa say eti nana do mefa ball no na bi ya busa say o assemblyman na yere imagine that by your attitude you decide that rubber and to form and from to go what you wouldn't miss out best about him now would do fear what they are to ball them now zoom far before to actually don't you think Ghana would have been a better place? If Ghana would change because we are Christians, I'm sorry to tell you that China, most of them are not Christians. Yet the country made her mind that this country belongs to us and we will make it a perfect country. People, number one, angels don't sweep. Number two, God is not a Zoom lion manager. Oh, Ghana, why? Indiscipline. Individuals say, baby, we are bus stop on the airport. So if you petrol must be available. Comfortability is a killer to destiny. And nothing, coke bebre, fanta bebre, we pizza bebre. Also, you are very comfortable. You feel good in your mouth. It tastes good, but it's a killer. Too much of comfortability can kill you. Now, you overhead while pass. Also overhead, baby, one. When the people don't respect the law is useless. Now, the law is not enforced by the police. The law is enforced by the people. Why? Because laws cannot work when the people have decided not to make it work. Police one police cannot fight it. You leave it. Because the people in the nation, they have decided not to abide by the law. Indiscipline. Passengers, indiscipline. Baby, also driver. Marcus Region that one is a sister of Abraham, or some put them. Marcus Region say any pandage and can fan no indiscipline. Yet we are all in the church. This nation will never be better because of religion. Oh, Ghana. Traffic light are so red. Or your coach. Just a segri. We say driver near so say driver your pentem your crack or turn your man. Tam coach. Driver need jina pa. Say driver, who see you slow papa. Yeah, quack your pentem. Na then we slow say driver say yan to bus here. Na so my min to be driver who jina who crack because bakuno no di musoko on my fast. Indiscipline. Baby, I wasn't so far. I want you to see that you see. Now your bunny so I am to my bino. The people in the nation, they are a threat to parties. Now kaya threat out of indiscipline. And kaya to me jikro na ya say munsu na esua in training ponchening krama no medipa no. Now who catch them say galam say yeah jai say anto away. Indiscipline. Or ye juma of fire service. Or ye juma of immigration office. Or ye juma of temahabo. I was a report to a juma 7 o'clock. Or bet me juma 10. But to be to be in the paper to habo. Eh chai penimra. No one messai. No one need the car 12 na penny do. Or call him boss 12 no bed juma. Ye such a loyalty. Unum soccer taxi by law and such a little say. La driver you want CB2 and now one. A boy cry 50% say paper on quadia. You were opening your what? Look, the law is not even working because those who are to enforce the law, they are lawless. The law is a spirit, not a person. When you disobey it, your children will follow. And that is why if you're a parent and you are not able to instill discipline in the house, your children grow to become like you.
And modu papa o my chichire no ni ono so yi ministers your assembly members your everything even asori crown your asori mpanimfo nanso asori mpanimfo no nko a entumi ma asori no enyina se asori ma no an corporate a utie nsemo a papa ye kan. That's what he means. In discipline ye nyina we are at fault. Menka se me your soro abofo. And what kind or say angels don't what? Don't sweep. Or say asura above no omo yede omo mpra. Na se wonnam ka uku ekofa no de koto hin. I said it before I even played this video to you. In the someone Reverend D.Y. Donko oda eye Royal Believers Ministry anono aka no ade a emu odu pa say ye nyina yesua bibi from the president to the ordinary person. China, omododo na enya Christopher. Omo som sa ni ade no. Then so they are developing not because of religion but because of disciplined nature. Oko Japan. Japan omo ye Situist, any Hinduist, any sa ni ade no. womu dodo na enye a Christopher dodo na enye Mozambique nanso they are developing not because of religion but because of what? Discipline. Ye ma wa juma se juma ne mra ne se wuduru ajuma 8 o'clock na upon 5 p.m. Okwabra ne be hwe nyame anim no wakọ ajuma be 11 because ebi onim attendance book no da okọ 11 and so obekwa akọtro 8 and I say obi fofo be trauma ne say okwabra ne eba 8:05 and so na nipa no eba 11 a.m. Owie so a 5 no emmo 3:30 no wafa ne bag no okọ indiscipline no yen country ye ho ye pese Ghana etumpon a enye sa ye bese say ye nyina de afiri wo ya famunti FM se City TV eye indiscipline eyi bi hwempanimfo a ye chi o mo traffic mu indiscipline ebi no indiscipline no ebi no o se God manager no wote ho no mo na yi sebe o tutututu bola e de gu gata mu rough na se insuo no ekochoku gata ne choku na insuo no fawa Zoom lion manager no onye nyameo odofo yen sua bibi emfiri Reverend D.Y. Donko a oda Royal Believers Ministry ano wo betumi amamne kokora na obebie ani bebre a I will bring him here esa ne say enipa ekoso wo man Ghana no eno ne pese ye ne ahwefo ye eche that is the objective. Enti wo obenya ne contact e dia mama ye Reverend na true ana say Oman FM ade a ebetumi age number no na ye me kanu me call Newmont me call ye me national service no training me nya good training ufiri ho a it's like unim say obeye discipline die tina me kasa me ye se den na sene ya ye adwuma no ubedru before ubewura mu no agi se wo de o card no wo de swape na aye pekpe na gate na abie ama wogura mu na a register ewo HR say ene kwabram wako waba adwuma enti enye obi na te ho no o market eye machine no na market enti se ura inside in fact by 7 o'clock pepe na em say by 7:05 or whatever no na system no close nti uduru ho after 7 a o swap a eden enya ade a o ti ase na ma ena the system no kra no that day na one ba adwuma no enye HR na ebe ma HR manager na ebe frɛ wo no wa be ka se won pɛ wasem machine no system no ebe send wo kra message na asende eye message di ama your friend is saying finance department say ene 14th August kwaku don soro wa ma system no ankasa adi dot the days na wa ma adwuma no eye fi salary mu enti uni obi ani me pacho there's nothing like me pacho yesi wo driver and I say who can ehyen ewo Newmont site ho a ese say wo de chalk wo park here ese say wo de chalk adwuma just because of that. You see, who drive Newmont to car as I say, who boss seat belt all the time. So yes, flat to as I say, you know, home kakra sa excuse ni ho. Say what is saying, so bo seat belt. Na muso council a bet say what na Newmont to come na what to Newmont to car boss seat belt. Esani said that has been the practice over the years into obi obeko ho bia no obeye used to SAR system. Adentina aban aso ye no yen implement sanyema webi se ye GRA udru GRA gate na no anu obi akutane card ya integrate with data bibia de agum enti se udru ho 8 o'clock ana se 8:05 ade no kwa MBA ma wontumi enko inside ewia ni a link to HR ama report about you. If you are a accounts department, na se ye started tete saade ni free your salaries mu a ebema ye ni ada ho obi wo ho no mu a or what genuine case and we are different. That's not what I'm talking about. but yetumi eye hwehan eye nyema ekutia adwuma sebe private kura na private no me boss no oni ho. That is what Reverend DY or the same DY Donko Royal Ushe China, Ushe Japan, Ushe amamanya omu tumpon, omu tumrika ewo economic wise mo. Omu nye Christopher, omu nye Mozambique for. Nenso they are doing what? They are developing. Adentina yendi ewo ntina Bible ne ka say nse nya adwuma no me dey men didi. It means that okotena sorrow them 24 hours. Na de bia ye come. That's what the Bible says, not me. Someone make me say, we are guilty of it. And come on, ye me nka say, won't remember obu for me. What me so me ka bi. Na matter ne sa na me back to and throw ye de ye ya man yosem. Send ya man penin dada John Mahama akachire ye no. Meninam ena me kopie eye nsem nkomodie bia na ekoso efa yen free SHS ya na abrantie baako ana ye kan story. In fact utie story na you will be touched. So utie abrantie no story no na awose nguo na ebia akaw kakra. Seriously, story no are huntie no dey I will not share with you. But the point is that the story no emma mi hu here any boy I see a boy nanado abaso for implementing the free SHS. The committee will say ebusua bi wo ho a se e ka so e bia na wo de Nyankopon aye wadom e bia na Nyankopon aye wadom. But me catch wo ebusua bi wo Ghana you see school fees no ye 10 cedis a ekropua wan hwe obia enya ana obi a ono no wanya free education ni bi sebe tafrache ne papa de na ne papa na ebusu omu obi a obetumi okọ suku okotuaye den so ono se da bi da se ye ne sa na ya anye ne yie enti Ghana ye sika nsem ntotoye no ye fa bi nhwe Ghana ni ba bia wa qualify so obekọ secondary school. Senya munim no NDC for tro hompe NDC for tro hompe da bi enye yie sa enye yie spirit no a omo pese omo sande babiom no ende organa for nsem because mitie abrantie bi video no so all compare current economic difficulties aye wo mu Yesu Kristo a ode 5,000 people with enam kakra ni brodo pan o kakra nipa ni fra no osan yade o ma na ni hu ade ma kwatafo nsa e baaye no oye anwanwadwuma bebre me hwehwɛ no sebe omusaka eyade on be ma ya so ate na sede na maso guso America no entro ye de she politics ye de ye amanyosem no emwa Ghana ya for several years emwa yendi ye hu nokre wo to ye so aba no sebe enimonyam hye bi no mo de mayen so the least we can do to them is to respect them.
Nana adoko kumase ne yehuru no. Na we na won TV da. Ewi ase metumi ama example bebre. Enipa obo nipa pa no. Ono ene na wieye. Wo mo edi ni dem pa bonu tutu. Oh yes. Hwe Onyankopon ko Israel ko Mizrim. Ekoyi Israel fofri nkwaso mu. Odi wo mo kono omuduru kwan mu bebi akomodi omo kakra no Yesu Kristo timi bua doma no nipa 5,000 no omo bia aduane embon ne bread send fish ne bread ene yo mo aduane wo fidi omunum momoni gia fine okotuba fine no asane yade oni freni no wati nani obi ewu no wenyane no ensenkyereni akese na Yesu beye at the long run yen dey hwe politicians bi amma emma wo abrabo na wo bon no ma wo di wo ho ye no ensisan abrabo but politician ba na sa politician no timi ye policies bia ye ntimamfo mene wo ebetumi anya so mfaso a saa nipa no na efe no visionary leader yanya presidents bebre enkola bremika ne ekwa yekuta slate car battery ye de torchlight mu ye bo ne black ne wo no ye de atwi slate no so na ye black nkomra na ye untade mu nyina ye de ko class a eno ne ye twere wo so sa tam no na ye papa no msu sa gana eden ye papa mu no mutua fees me be wie GSS me papa okoyi bayere e na obeton ye sikeni bi o ye krum ho no toy e na me de kotua me registration fee enti Ghana start ye den aye ka se Ghana eden no nye ne ye di be hu aban papa ne aban a oba oye policies a ebeboa wo abrabo sisi a me no kase no me first born owo SHS me tua fees da me nua ba me papa last born wako SHS na wie me tua fees eno no na ye mfaso a me benya afiri aban no eno na wo benya mfaso afiri aban no saa ma me fo ye omobo na na don tutui ebi mu mo mienu ni miesa kra ko SHS no bi na so mobo no tutu saa na nipa te eti wo so fatu hofo enye wa adwe se nipa be pe wasem akosie wie da emfa ho how good you are enipa enia ye fatu trim
se enipa enia ye enipa eninka ye enuti fatu trim so we ye pap yese o expect bibi in return esa de bia wabam ebebu ana se unsa ebesi form abrante no minim ne din minim be bi free but min saka sa video we through social media and am yes me nemu beche utie nsem abrante aka odofo eyade a emu odru papa bra Mose ni ni nkrofo eko no ekom kakra ba ya ho kire kakra ba ya omunya no kra ko mbetwa ne mene Yesu Kristo na kom di nipa omo maduane diye nipa ni efra na oso mo yare kwatafo nyina oso mo yare eden na yamfa nye no eti me the sadie we toto the current economic difficulties are ye kom Ghana for be transi ama NDC propaganda eruo mutrim so far we have for secretary of the NDC nyame pengu so mbebo mo ba oye minister obeye minister be lie or see free SHS no all lie be lie me no ka say free SHS o tikan no e wo ho amommo na ahwefo hu
going all over the country. When today you are hearing Nana Akufo-Addo and the MPP going all over the country shouting free SHS, free SHS, free SHS. That is what you call all lie be lie. When today you are hearing Nana Akufo-Addo and the MPP going all over the country shouting free SHS, free SHS, free SHS. That is what you call all lie be lie.
Say unwa ahoden a ode kan saasem no fifi enenumre chia fifi kwete general secretary for the NDC we dey na me dey analysis into mema obunfu at mem framing ka say obuofu na mpese Ghana fo hu nipa mo na all lie be lie ya okan ayi say woni me ne o ka say wo so wonim say all truth be truth nokre ya this policy bia o de ba ehun ewo nsem enti emre eko nanim no na o ye den o dandan yani until you get a perfect system no enne ne ye fefefe yi a wo hu a wo se afi oye ana ne ma enum akọ school ni bi enye sa free SHS we aka sa ma me no na busua ne ma enum no obie ne ho no obetumi akọ eye secondary school eye ni brisam ene ye kan yenko tie mami Grace Debra nsam odi to dwane emra
ma o manu omo papa firi mu ntam na de odi ka kora no onyini tie man kwara o wachire ni nyina school ni ye basa ni prayer metimi obi amfo obi anko secondary school until last one neja another uruma free education ni metimi de me ba wura aba school pon a ye friend ganas ya me ba asebia watimi wura sa school no bi school fees me kura kaminya school fees me ko fa ne minya me te 1 million kura me ni bi gete na ma da manya school fees se
yes obi kai hwe adana meka ebi mu ye Ghana card ene ye digitalization ni nyama na ye no ebedru ba bi no system aban betumi ahu se mi a meti hei madwuma me ye ene mi sika minya no eyade e betumi ama matua me ba fees e wo mo betumi ayeden atua no free system mu but wo sha se na wo ni that data no you cannot tell me say asumesi wo betumi ahwe nipa nanim aka se me hwe wonim ene wo shet ya wo sha na chese wo betumi atua wo school fees no way ana mami Grace Debra kan wo se 1 million wo sahin onibi ti ne ba last born ene nyankopon adom obepie na adodanko akufo-addo so e de free SHS ba na sa free SHS eye argument ya ena ekoba ye se NDC ena papa ba ko ono oda Ahyese University a ye fe no Professor Ewua odi nsem bi tudwa e bo ne nsem o se ye mo ye nsem ma nipa odi sa double track idea ne ba ye no ono wati school Ahyese University, one of the best private universities in Ghana ena wo ka se nipa onya adwene nyansa ni nimde se yemfa eye double track emra se be ya obi biara wa qualify so obeko SS no obenye mu akono yemmo ensem emma no yenko tie Professor Ewua ensem odi tu dwa no sima na emra.
I don't know whose idea it was of having 2 tracks, to have, kids in school for 6 months and out of school for 6 months. It's a very clever idea. And let me explain why I think it's a clever idea. Before this shift, kids were in school for 7 months and out of school for 5 months. So 5 months, infrastructure was sitting idle every year. 5 months. What they've done is the 7 months of work that has been now squeezed into 6 months has also been done with more contact hours per day, so that even though the kids are in school for only 6 months out of the year instead of 7 months out of the year, they actually have more contact hours today than they did before. Now, let me add that, by the way, I don't think that this has been communicated well enough to the citizens of Ghana. People don't understand why this had to happen, and they don't understand that there's work happening in terms of contact hours so that kids will get the education that they need. The reason I think it's a clever idea is because it sweats our assets. We don't have a lot of money. We don't. And yet we have this challenge of educating everyone in an environment where population growth guarantees, unless we change the rate, that the population will double in 30 years. How else are we going to catch up? I mean, it would take 20 years to build enough schools for the current population, let alone what is coming. And so this idea has the potential not only of helping Ghana really solve the problem of access.
So Professor ewua ɔse the double track na NDC for twetwe no omunti bi da na omunti. There was the propaganda say because nkola ni bi kɔ na ebi aba ne atifie ni ade ni ntino contact hours no esua ɔse wo hwɛ enti enye no kreda say because of double track nti na nkola no enya more contact hours dodo na ehia say de be prepare omoma graduate enye no kreda Professor Ewua and was say it was not properly well communicated enough. Esan say send de bia ye kana ban communication yi machine no ese say aban shemukina party no communication machine no ese tumi shemukina and na Professor Ewua kan ye nyame na meka asem we ba ye ese say nka policy developers omo develop policy no omo ni party communicators ne trust no mo kire o mase say ade wey opportunity a ede bani advantage a ewo mu ni enti before class ye be role policy no na communicators not started mu Ghana for, and so that is not what is happening. A serious challenge. And a Professor Ewua, it was not properly communicated enough. Enti abaye wasuye ye bia modi policy e bano before the policy will be rolled out, before the adiano ye be no mumma communicators ye can communicators enye mpenifo na tiswo keke womu the regional communicators constituency communicators no you should engage them because most of times no ye the development no and say information more so na it doesn't come down anyway aha ana emre ebema ye de jumedi for Robert Bafofin Justice Afo Kwesi Nancy George Sakode Kobe Scratch and also me director of TV Kenneth Techi Agyapong omro mbo mechi don ma me de na dwumadie no ebremu musomfo hene amako na me de dwumadie mu chiame nyame adoma yebesan ehia makram